To cloud. Hi everyone. I'm Therese Cranston, spiritual consultant and psychic medium, and I have my friend Deborah with me today, and we're going to talk about Archangel Raziel. So I'm going to let Deborah introduce herself and share a really cool Raziel story that I'm excited to hear. So,
Hi
yeah.
everyone, I'm Deborah Rahalski. I call myself the Cosmic Adventurer. I am a professional astrologer, and I do readings for people based on their natal chart, which I consider to be their cosmic map. And we can talk a little bit more about that later on. But yeah, Raziel, oh my goodness, when Kyle like put it out there to her community that she was going to do this series on angels, I'm like, ooh, dibs on Raziel, because I love Raziel. So here's the thing as a young girl, when we would go to church on Sundays, you know how you kind of tend to sit in like the same place, your families tend to sit in the same place. And I was raised in a Lutheran church, but it was sort of the old school Lutheran church where a lot of the churches still sort of had like the stained glass windows of the depictions of various things from Jesus's life in the back. And also in the front of the church, above the altar was this beautiful round, I think they call it a Rosetta glass where it's this big round window with like all of this like sections of like beautiful like stained glass colors. And unbeknownst to me, I think there were like little symbols at the end of them. It reminds me, it's funny because years later I work in astrology, which is also a wheel with like different sections. And but there were these beautiful rainbow colors. And you're sitting there in church and the sermon is going on, yada yada yada, and you got to be good and you got to be quiet. So I like the music and stuff, and I would just kind of like stare at the stained glass window and sort of stare at that. And I kind of felt like there was this like energy of like that there was kind of a presence there. Also to our right was a stained glass window. It was the window of the Annunciation. And I know we're not talking about Gabriel, but that is Gabriel and Mary. And there was literally this one time, I mean, I'm like 8 or 9 years old, and the angel that is in that stained glass window, like actually in my mind, I felt like I saw her turn and talk to me and just say that no, angels are real. Because in Sunday school, I would ask about angels and like, well, angels are, they weren't really into that, particularly in the Lutheran church.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, and I'm like, is that in the window in the foot? That's also an angel too. But I didn't know the name. I didn't get a name. If she gave me the name or told me who the angel was, I didn't really make it connected. Okay, fast forward many, many, many decades later, at least 5 decades later, and I'm working with our beautiful mentor, Radley Valentine, my favorite angel teacher, right? And in the very first year of his magical membership, when he was introducing the different angels, he did one a month. And when we got to Raziel, there's this beautiful meditation that he does. And he talks about envision this prism, because Raziel is associated with the rainbow. This is why Kyle and I have twin rainbows in our background. And he's talking about in the meditation, see this prism, see the beautiful white light of the divine coming through, see it now, the beam shining out as like the colors of the rainbow. And what I saw was the beam was like, rather than it being like a beam of light with just a line of rainbow, what I saw was this swirl of colors, which became like the stained glass window that I had seen in church as a child. I hadn't thought about that in decades. I hadn't really thought about that. And all of a sudden the rainbow energy is coming out of that. And he goes, and this is Raziel. And I went, I got like what we call angel bumps. I'm like,
Mhm.
Raziel, you've been with me. You're the angel that brings me this colorful energy ever since I was a child. But I didn't have a name for that energy. I didn't realize that about Raziel. So that was how, in a way, it's almost like I can't say that's how I met Raziel. That's how I realized my connection to
Mhm.
Raziel, which was really special. I mean, I will always be really grateful to Radley for that.
I did that meditation last night. I like it.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's a good
So
one.
Kyle, how about you? Like what was your what either is your connection now with Raziel or how have you connected with him?
So I didn't even realize I was connecting with him. I don't even have these on. My kids are being loud, so I was getting ready just in case. Um, I didn't even realize because like at first I was like, oh man, am I not connecting with him? But in the past year, my past life readings have just kind of just that me seeing like people's past lives has really blossomed. And I realized, no, he is working with you. You are working with him. He's helping you do that. I just do it. I just feel it in a different way. I think I'm like too in my head where I don't always like feel like they're with me. But when I'm getting the information, that's him. He's giving me the past life information for the clients. So it's like
Mhm.
I'm hearing him. But my entire life though, I don't know if this really makes any sense. I mean, in terms of, but I've always loved rainbows. Like I have one on my shirt. It's a love is love shirt, but
Mhm.
I thought I would wear one today for him. But I've always loved, I used to always draw them. And everything I wanted was like rainbow color. I remember when I was a little girl, I wanted like a rainbow birthday cake from Baskin Robbins. I've always loved them. I have like a rainbow color tattoo for my son. It's like, I don't know if you can see, but it's
Mhm.
like for neurodivergency, for neurodivergent. And I just always so I don't I just feel like I've always been drawn to him, but I never could put it together until like
Mhm.
more later in life when I was like, he's
Right.
working.
He's not one of those angels like people have heard of Michael, people have heard of Gabriel. You know,
Mhm.
some people, people may even have heard of Uriel. It's not necessarily an angel. Raziel, he's not necessarily an angel that you really hear a lot about, you know. Um, and really that, like I said, that, the first time I started even hearing the name Raziel was when back when like when Radley came out with his deck, the Angel Wisdom Tarot deck, Raziel's on the cover. That's what made me
Mhm.
buy that deck, and that's why I really started following Radley very much. Because I'm like, wait, the way he represents Raziel, I'm like, wait, this is Asian representation in a tarot deck, not just like the tarot of the geisha or something like the tarot of the
Yeah.
samurai. This is like, and that's how I was drawn to that deck. I love that deck because it's so connecting. And what you're talking about, the thing about past lives. So traditionally, Raziel is said to sit at the right hand of God, um, and is the scribe and writes down everything, keeps he's kind of in a way. Some people say Archangel Michael's in charge of the Akashic records. The way I interpret it is Archangel Michael gives you access to the Akashic records, but Raziel's the one who keeps the records. He writes them down.
Mhm.
Um,
He's the librarian.
he yeah, he's like he's keeping all the records, and it's like I almost see him like, whether it's a particular era or particular, like, the ancient times where everything was recorded on scrolls. And then when I see the library, it's almost like rather than it being books, sometimes it's like scrolls. Or you ever seen like a fantasy movie where people go and, they pull out the ancient scroll and they lay it out. And that for each of our soul existences, we each have a scroll, and there's a record of all the lifetimes we've lived, and whether it's here on Earth or in another dimension. And that's the other thing that I thought Radley talked about, which is so fascinating, is this idea of the multidimensionality. In order to be able to access the past, you have to be able to transcend time, right? Raziel also is Raziel. It's said that Raziel also knows what's in the mind of the divine and knows what the potential for future is. Now, the future is never determined because we as a collective are always making choices individually and collective, and that's what changes. Some timelines disappear. Some timelines become interwoven. Sometimes people make a choice to do something different, and then they're destined to meet this person, but it's going to be, instead of here, it might be here in their timeline or under different circumstances. And my understanding is that Raziel knows how all of those things are woven together. And to me, that's the symbol of the rainbow, is the representation of what happens to divine light when it moves into dimensionality, like from the oneness through the prism of dimensionality, and it becomes these different colors. They're still connected. There's a flow. The order of the colors in the rainbow doesn't change. The other thing is also too, scientists are beginning to discover it. There are colors, like we only see like a certain range of colors. There are colors that our eyes don't have the cone, the receptors for. But
Oh,
there are
wow.
colors beyond this. I mean, there is, so you've heard of infrared and ultraviolet. Those are the first two bands on either end of the rainbow, but there are multiple, like the energies that are in those light waves create colors. And it's hard to describe it because how do you describe a color that you've never seen or that the
Yeah.
human experience that doesn't exist in the human world. I
Yeah.
think that's fascinating too.
That is really fascinating.
The other thing about what I see is like when Raziel is when, in some of the more recent meditations with Raziel, and when I work with him too. So, because I do a lot of artwork in addition to the astrology, one of the unique things that started coming through for me when I started doing people's charts was I started getting images of artwork to create for people. Eventually, that transformed into creating these small energy discs that have, after I do the natal chart for someone, where the different angels come through with different colors, and I put these colors down on an energy disc, and then I send that to people and say, this is the energy that's represented in your birth chart, in your natal chart. So here, here's an energy disc. I can also create them for specific situations or specific angels. So mine right here, this is the current, this is my Raziel disc.
Mhm.
It has like practically every shade, every color in
Yeah.
my palette of various paints that I have that I work with. And it was funny because when I was starting to create these artworks, initially they were done on like little canvases. But then a friend of mine said, I see you like I said, there's something about it that it's just kind of missing. And they said that your team wants you to find something organic to put it on, like rocks or something. Well, it doesn't work too well on rocks because unless you have a really flat rock, when you put the paints on it, it just kind of drips all over the side. It doesn't
Mhm.
stay as much. And then one day I was in this craft store and I saw these are like these little wooden discs that, like when you cut off the end of a Christmas tree. And they actually
Yeah.
sell these like in a craft store. And I was like, oh, this is perfect. So I put the paints down and let them swirl around. And I swear magical things happen. Like I've
Mhm.
done things where like and then the angels, Gabriel is like, the angels creator, put the paintbrush down, leave it alone. But I put the colors down, I kind of move the paint around and then just leave it and let it dry. Shapes, things. People say, how did you paint that tiny little heart in there? I go, very carefully. No, it just appeared while
Hmm.
the disc was drying. So this is, and some of them, this is a very like dynamic. There's lots of colors, there's a lot of swirls and everything else. This to me is very much Raziel's angel, the angel Raziel's energy when I'm working with Raziel in that creative mode. Because of being the angel of the rainbow, to me, I know that Gabriel's often associated with creativity, but to me, Raziel is when you create art, it's kind of like a magical experience. And in Radley's tarot decks, he's represented as the magician, right? So and it is kind of magical to be able to transcend time. We are learning from quantum physics and quantum science that time and space are not separate. Time and space are like one, and that there's this whole concept like when you see the light from the stars, some of those stars may not exist anymore. The light takes so long to come to us. And if you go out and look at the night sky, and I think this is really a magical element. This is how Raziel helped me understand the concept of the oneness of time. If you stand in your yard or someplace where you can see all a bunch of stars in the night sky, particularly if you have a clear, like a dark sky area and you get lots of stars, the light that you're seeing from all those stars travel different distances. So it is arrived, the light that is hitting your eye at this moment, some of that light existed back before Christ was born. Some of that light left a light from a different star left when King Charlemagne was king, like from a different star. I'm trying to think of like what is the closest. Probably, I think I'm trying to think if it's Sirius or which star is the closest to us. But that's like maybe like several hundred years, or in terms, because you're talking about how many light years does it take to get
Mhm.
to us. But you're standing here in this moment of time, right here in this moment, and all this light is coming to you that was generated by these stars at different points in the human timeline. So you're standing there experiencing all these eras, light from time, from all of the past, all times of the past in one single moment. And that like blew my mind to just stand there and look up and go, wow. That light was, this light is 1,000 years old. And I don't necessarily know necessarily which ones, but just to know, well, this could be 10,000 years old from a star that, it's so distant that it takes 10,000 years for the light to reach me now. At the same time, this one is like 2,000 years old. And that sense of timelessness and the fact that Raziel can connect with and exist in all of those times. And I sometimes see him in the scribe mode of like writing these things down. Have you ever been in one of those fun houses where where there are mirrors where when you look in, you see multiple mirror images of yourself?
Mhm.
You see yourself repeated, 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 like as you're standing there. When I think about Raziel in all of those different dimensions and connecting with all of the elements of time, both past and future, it's like this image and as if there's almost multiple iterations of himself through all of those different dimensions. And it's like, you see, it's instead of it being just like this, it's like all of these different images of him projecting back, forward, and backwards in time. It's kind of cosmic. It's
I
one of the
know
things I love about his energy.
sometimes it breaks my brain because someone asked me at a fair when I was doing a presentation on past lives. They're like, "Yeah, so what is your, on how we're like living our past lives right now and like the timelines?" And I was like, "That breaks my brain. It just does. My brain can't handle it." And that's okay.
Here's a really easy way to think of it. Let's frame it down. And I think this is a really great way to think about to take this concept of this Raziel energy. Because one of the beautiful things about, if you want to connect with something, people say, "Oh, this is so," and I'll see it in people's astrology charts. There's a lot of past life energy. We bring energy in from past lives, and it's not all quote unquote bad karma. A lot of
Yeah.
it is skills, talents, ability. When I first discovered astrology in my teens, I was like, what is this? And for me, I didn't have to sit down and memorize the 12 signs and the how. The basics were in my brain. The minute
Mhm.
I discovered astrology and started reading about it, and ironically, I was writing a paper on the history of astronomy because I've always loved the stars and the moon ever since I was a kid. People wanted, other girls my age wanted the Barbie dream house. I wanted a telescope so I could look at the moon. That was me as a kid. Um, and so I was, in junior high, early years of junior high, we were charged with like learning to write a research paper. Back in the days before Google search, back in the days before Wikipedia, back before anyone had computers. You went to the library and you looked things up in a card catalog and you pulled
Mhm.
out big encyclopedias and you read things in these encyclopedias and then you found the research books and all of that. That's how you did your research papers and, quoted all that research. So I decided we had to pick something to write something to write about the history of it. So I'm like, I wonder like how astronomy got started. And I'm looking this up in an encyclopedia, and I'm turning through this I think it was Encyclopedia Britannica because of just where I was in school at the time. I'm flipping through and I flip through the page, and you know how in an if you've never seen an encyclopedia, it's like a big dictionary or whatever. You every now and then, it's mostly like black and white, a lot of drawings. But every now and then you would flip the page and there'd be a page with a beautiful color drawing. And I flipped the page and there's this beautiful color drawing. Like, what is this wheel? Look at this with these colors and these symbols. It was an astrology chart.
Mm.
And that part of the entry on astronomy talked about way back when how astrology and astronomy were like one practice that thousands of years ago.
Mm.
And so the narratives of course, then science came in and realized that this stuff is just silly. The planets don't make things happen. But the only reason modern day astrologers, like back even in the 16, 1700s, when telescopes were finally invented, ancient astronomers slash astrologers predicted the existence of, you can only see Saturn as far as the planets in our solar system with the naked eye. Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto require a telescope in order to be able to be seen. But the ancient practitioners of astronomy, astrology, understood that based on what they're seeing, the way these planets are moving, that there has to be something else acting as a force on them. They understood about planetary rotations and, orbits and things like that. And they predicted the existence and actually talked about if there is another planet beyond Saturn, it's got to be approximately here. But you can't see it. Everyone's, oh, it's not there until telescopes were invented. And the ancient astronomers also practice astrology too, something no one ever talks about, right? So this concept of like the connection of the cosmos and the fact that, our limited concept of the human consciousness of being aware of what's out there beyond us. And Raziel's is this is a part of Raziel's work too, the expansion of the mind, of understanding that there's not just this reality, this physical reality, this very dense dimension. There are so many more dimensions beyond there. But if you want to take the concept of time, when you think about just this lifetime, if you limit it, you are also, as yourself, Kyle, now, as adult Kyle, you are also embodying baby Kyle, 2-year-old Kyle, 10-year-old Kyle, 15-year-old Kyle, 21, all of those parts of you on your previous timeline of this life are all embodied within you. That's why sometimes something happens and we have a reaction because it reminds us of something scary that happened when we were 3,
Mhm.
right? So past lives work that way too. So the life that we had maybe 100 years ago in some other civilization, in some other culture, we carry that energy with us in this lifetime, just like we carry the energy of the different years within our life. Does that sort of untangle
No,
that for you a bit?
I get that. I get that. It's just the living, how someone said that we're living like timelines at the same time. That's the part that breaks my
Well,
brain. I get that like your past lives, like I teach that about like how past lives and like they can influence you. Like you can bring, I know like in a couple past lives I was actually like a psychic as well. And so what I just this life I was more like reactivating it, kind of
mhm,
thing.
mhm.
And I
I
carry
think
that.
it's less. I mean, I know that some people say that it's a spiral and that, the timelines are like this or they're interwoven. And
Mhm.
so, at any one point in time, you can jump from this timeline to this timeline. There's a woman that I work with who does Akashic record work, and she says you never know like what Akashic record you're going to go back to. Um, but the meditation you do is just kind of like you're sort of like on this timeline now, and it's almost like your timeline is a path below you, and what you're doing is you fly backwards through your path on this life. If you're flying and you're going and you're going, and it's like, okay, now there's a particular timeline and you're going to follow this, and you kind of see that past life. you know the idea that all of time kind of exists at the same in the same moment here. If you think about when you access a memory of something that happened a while ago, that memory feels almost as real as if it's happening now, right? Like I think about smell is probably the most of all of the senses. I think it's the most beautiful way to like access that mystery. Have you ever like walked into something and caught the scent of something and it immediately takes you back to a memory, right?
Yeah.
And what you're feeling in this moment is what you're feeling when what in either all the times that you associate that smell with, or like, I remember my grandmother. She used to make they weren't like cinnamon rolls, but it was some baked thing, like with like a cinnamon cake or something, almost like a coffee cake type thing. And
Mhm.
I remember that smell of the cinnamon baking. And if I walk into a bakery and I smell that smell of like, that baked, like cakes and cinnamon,
Mhm.
immediately I can close my eyes. I'm like, I can picture my grandparents, how the kitchen. I see that the jars that she had this set of ceramic canisters that were so pretty that were on the one side. I can see she had a set of mixing bowls that were like they were glass mixing, but or so like glass, but like not clear glass. They each one was a different color, you know. And I could just, and I can see her standing there in the apron that she always wore, the checkered apron when she was cooking and baking. And I am, am I in that, am I standing in my grandparents' kitchen? Well, maybe. The memory brings that back so real. In that moment, it's as if you're really there because that moment is so significant. So in a way, in that instance, that smell is, I am connecting to, and then when people do, like, when you go back and heal trauma in your life, like for me as a mother, one of the things I made very different choices, somewhat different choices, not dramatically different, but I made certain choices that were different in the way I raised my daughters.
Mhm.
I, my parents were like, well, you can't be an artist. I would have loved to have gone to art school. They're like, that's not practical. Go into something practical, study this in college. Whereas my daughters, if they expressed an interest in something creative, and one of my daughters was like, I want to go to school. I want to get a degree in fine arts and major in photography. I didn't say, what are you going to do with that degree? I'm like, go for it, girl. Go for it. Support it. So and in the process of raising my daughters in a different way, I kind of reparented myself as a
Oh.
child. And there's an interweaving of, I am having this experience as a mother with my daughters at the same time, sort of altering the experience. It's part of what I let go of that story. Raziel's all about the stories, writing
Mhm.
down the stories. What story are we telling ourselves? Raziel's always asking me when I get stuck, what's the story? And will encourage me to write it down or draw it or paint it or play with the colors and say, what is the story you're telling yourself? What if we reframe this story in a different way? I don't, me doing this didn't change the fact that my parents didn't suddenly, I'm not suddenly 7 years old or 10 years old or even 16 and getting ready to go to college and having, it's not like my parents that past change. And my parents were like, no, go ahead to go to art school. And I went to art school, no, but giving myself permission of, like, it's like me saying to myself when you're younger, you could go, you can be an artist and you can do it now as an adult when you're retired, and you don't have to go to art school to be doing this kind of work. So in a way, if you think about it, I kind of love that idea of, like, Raziel taking us to that past and saying, let's look at the things in your past that have stories that are weighing you down and holding you down, whether it's this life or another life, and let's see how we can reframe this in a different way, right? I
Mhm.
love that. And think about it, because Raziel is also tied to the future. So let's talk about how he can take us into the future. Like when I look at people's astrology charts and I look at the current energies, because everything starts to change on the chart from the moment you're born. The moon goes all the way around your chart in 28 or 29 days, activates all the energy points on your chart within 1 month, right? And continues it. The sun goes around once a year, right? So, and other energy points take longer to get around. Some planets don't get all the way around. Pluto has an orbit of 230 some odd years. No one lives that long, at least in this lifetime, right? So Pluto never makes it all the way around the chart. So, but it's this idea when I look at, I don't say this is what is going to happen. Here are these things. Here's this challenging point. It's here and here and here. Your finances might be challenged, or you're having challenges in your business, and it's going to show up this way. What I say is, the energy is asking you to focus and reorganize your finance, or pay attention to your health, or pay attention to relationships, whatever is, because there's a potential here there's some challenging energy, but every challenge is an opportunity. And I think Raziel looks at the future and saying, your future, we get to create the future. We have free will. So when we make certain choices, certain timelines down the line, if I chose to marry this person, I could have said no to this person, or I could have said yes to the first person who proposed to me, and have ended up with a very different life. But I just knew that wasn't the person I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. So I said no to that first proposal, right? I could have said yes, and my life would have manifested in a very different way. So we always have free will. Um, and but the future is Raziel can see all of the things. And it's like that beautiful energy of the infinite potential that we have. To me, that's the gift of Raziel's wisdom.
That's awesome. That was like great explanation. Um, and I'm just gonna talk just really quick, just to follow up. I'm just gonna like list some of like the fun facts about Raziel too. I know when I did my Raphael video, we were able to our Allie, she read this book on Raphael, so she had like an angel number for him, but I couldn't find one for Raziel. And I know you like don't associate like specific numbers, but I do know that the number 4 represents the archangels and angel numerology, or like, so
Hmm.
that's like a very angelic number. So I feel like if you that it could be any of the archangels with 4. So 4, I know like 4, I know people are like into 444, but I know like when I do angel numerology for somebody and that's what I'm focused on in a reading, I'm like, okay, so like this is like getting help from the archangels kind of thing. That's kind of how.
On that note,
Yeah.
it just in terms of the numbers, the one thing I can think of, I think I thought about if you take the number 8 and you turn it on
Oh
its
yeah.
side, it creates an infinity symbol. How
Hmm.
do you pin a number on an angel that's connected to the past, present, and the future,
Yeah.
right? But to me, what I was thinking of when I saw the new when I was thinking about the numerology, I just saw the infinity symbol, which is an 8 on its side, so it's a
Yeah.
sideways 8.
So that's a really good point. 'Cause, yeah, 'cause he is like associated with the infinity symbol. I love that. And then so oh yeah, I forgot to mention his titles. So what I've learned from especially from Radley is like the secrets of God, Archangel of Divine Secrets, Archangel of Mysteries are the different titles that I have for him that I've learned. And then we talked about his color. He's the rainbow, prism of the rainbow. And then his energetic appearance or his halo, or you might feel like rainbow energy or rainbow color. So he's also so when we talk about like the keeper of divine secrets, he's known for helping with like the spiritual understanding, like this like deep esoteric wisdom. So like you said, he kind of helped you understand almost the different timelines, just by like kind of working with him and helping just you. And like I know for me, I'm also always trying to learn like new things about like crystal energy, and I'm always trying to learn like more about astrology. I'm definitely not an astrologer, but I feel like I'm always increasing my knowledge, and I feel like he helps with that. He helps me kind of like understand some of that stuff, because some of it sometimes it goes a little bit of like, especially when you start getting into like the different like trines and stuff, I'm like, oh. um but I want to understand. So if you like really want to understand something, he's a great archangel to work with to help you understand like these kind of deep concepts, especially like past lives too. So he's also known for I guess like understanding how the universe works. So like the universe, there's a lot of stuff that we don't really know about it. And I like what Radley kind of said in one of the, I think it was one of the masterminds we were at, that like sometimes we're not meant to know. I remember him saying that sometimes we're just not meant to know like the answers, but Raziel knows all the secrets, or all the, like all the like the ins and outs. Um, what else do I have for him? I have that he can help you understand the magic of the divine, and how you can work with the divine in spirit to, bring things into your life. He's great for manifesting. He is great for removing psychic blocks too. So if you feel like you're stuck, like you're not getting like psychic hits, or your intuition is not, like, oh, I'm just not getting like the hits that like I used to, work with Archangel Raziel. He can help remove those blocks. And you can also work with Michael too to cut any like cords that might be interfering as well. So
I think to that point,
yeah.
oh, I hear people say this all the time. I cut all the cords, I cut all the cords, I cleared all my energy, and I'm still not getting the connection. I think that's when you've done you've cut all the cords, you've created the protection, and you still feel like something that then the block is probably more kind of an internal thing. Sometimes it's a past life thing.
Yeah.
We're afraid, we're afraid of oh, in this other life when I got to this deeper level, this thing happened or whatever, right? That's where Raziel can come in and help you say if there's a block, is this energy connected to past life? I think that's where Raziel can really help where you feel like you've cut all the cords and you've done that energy work. And what is still blocking me? That's where Raziel can, I mean, that's a mystery, right? That's where
Yeah,
Raziel can just kind of come and like, show me what's the obstacle here and help me remove it. Yeah, Raziel's great for that.
like maybe you were an oracle in Greece and something went wrong, and because you something went wrong, you were like kicked out or something like that. And so now you have like when you get to a certain level, you you freeze, you know. So it could be something and
Hmm.
it can help remove that.
Sure.
I just know somebody that had that happen too. So I'm like, oh, it's a really good point. Um, so he can also, he's really great too with helping decoding dreams. I have not gotten into
Mm.
dream work. It's because my dreams are so weird. I don't even want to know what they mean. But he's great. Like if you like to study dreams or like want to get insight into like the things you're dreaming about, he's awesome with like we've talked about with past lives. Like I work with him when I do past life readings and I do past life work for myself when I teach past lives, when I do past life meditations, he's always coming in. And he can also help like Deborah said, sometimes in past lives it's not all bad stuff. Sometimes you bring in stuff that's positive too. So he can help you like rediscover that wisdom or reactivate your gifts. What like Denise Lynn tells a story in one of her past life stuff where her husband they went ice skating and her husband all of a sudden was like never skated before and was like doing all these like spins and turns and they turns out he had like a past life and I think Netherlands were like all the canals and they would freeze and he would skate on them.
Hmm.
So he like had this yeah, it was she's just like he just started skating and had never done it before. So like, you know, I'm sure Raziel was like, "Hey, let's activate that gift for you so you can show off." You know, I don't know. He's great with also with past life trauma. If you have past life trauma to help work with, to help heal that so that it stops impacting your life today. Let's see what I got here. He can oh yeah, and I have like he can thin the veil and help you retrieve those memories. I always do when I do past life stuff, I do a meditation. I do past life meditations. I know you can do regressions too, but I like the Denise Lynn or Brian Weiss meditations, I think are really good. Or
Hmm.
any Radley has some good ones too.
Yeah.
Um, let's see, what else do I have there? I just want to make sure I get everything.
Before we go too
Yeah,
far away from it, you mentioned dreams, and I, in the
yeah.
back of my mind, I'm thinking, what am I missing? What am I missing? Of course, dreams. You know, and dream time. So just on a pure human psychological level, the state that the brain is in when we dream, that REM state where dreams happen, because like dreams don't happen when you're in deep sleep and not when you're first like, falling asleep either. There's a particular state of your sleep cycle where all the dreams happen. They've studied this, they know this. And what is happening is like things are firing in all over the brain. It's like, the visual core lights up, the auditory core lights up, sensory cores, whatever. They found that piping in smells, 'cause people would, volunteer to do sleep studies, and piping in certain smells would like activate certain things. But what you're doing is you're basically processing things that happened either during the day or maybe over the course of a couple of days, or something happened today that that is connected, that is opening up energy, something that happened three years ago, and you're like, I can't process this right now. I'm gonna I'm gonna file this away for later. We do that, right? The things that are tough to look at. So what is happening in your dream state is certain things in your current life. You're either processing certain things, or you're processing something that happened in that current 20 the like last 12-hour period that you were awake that may have triggered something that was deeply hidden. So
Yeah.
when you have those dreams and you're like, I don't even, when you say, my dreams are really weird and I don't even want to know what they're about, Raziel's invitation is, they're not as weird as you think. And there's some part of you that's like saying it's too weird to look at. But Raziel's like, I can help you look at this dream. Like I used to have this really terrifying recurring nightmare. And even before I knew about working with angels, I did work with someone when I was first starting meditation. And I would go to a certain point in the meditation because I was afraid to go any deeper because I'm like, I would start to feel like sort of like the energy of like that bad dream that I had that was like a recurring nightmare. And I had it for years as a kid, and then it went away, and then it was coming back when I went back into meditation. Of course, because you're going deeper, you're accessing a deeper part of your subconscious. And I had to get through that. And my meditation teacher said, want you to invite yourself, and when that happens next time, you should write down the description of the feeling, like write it down, put it down, get it out of here and put it here. Take it and put it out there. And then actually worked with me one-on-one and said, what does this energy have a color? What does it feel like? What is it like? And I said, it's kind of like this feeling of like this big, scary, like it's like a big dark cloud, like when a big terrible cloud, storm is coming.
Mhm.
But there's something in the cloud that's really scary and whatever. And working through that, Raziel can help you work with your dreams in a way that is accessible one layer at a time. So you can kind of pull those things out. And what I ended up doing this meditation teacher said, I'm going to give you this process where, once the monster sort of, you figure out what the monster kind of like reminded me, if you remember the movie, the TV series Lost, if you ever watched that one where the people stranded on
But
the
I
island,
remember it. Yeah.
there was a smoke monster. And the sound of that smoke monster and the smoke monster that was like, this is like what the season would start to get. I was like, kind of reminded me of my smoke monster.
Mhm.
Um, and what my meditation teacher said is let it just, you're going to be in a safe, like, you're going to be surrounded with the Buddha circle. It's like a golden circle of light, basically. But the monster's on the outside. But let it talk to you. Ask it, what do you want? What do you want from me? Like, I had a conversation with this, cloud monster of what did it want? And basically my meditation, if it gets too scary, just come out, just open your eyes, just stop. It's fine. It's okay. And I did it, I think it took about 3 tries to sort of work through it and get through it. And I understood where it came from. I understood where in this life. And I think also when I did some Akashic record work, that was also connected to past, because at the time I was young enough, I didn't know about past lives. But later on, that sort of came up again. So Raziel can help you work with the dreams, yeah,
Mhm.
with that dream work to help you work with it. He bring beautiful rainbow energy, bringing, what colors do I need to surround myself with in order to explore this like nightmare or this weird dream that I'm having. So I just wanted to sort of put that out as an invitation of something that Raziel does really well to sort of help with it. Probably at that time in my early teens, Raziel was probably with me.
Mhm.
My meditation did say, if I think about it now, maybe they said visualize a rainbow and pick the colors of the rainbow that you think will help you. And of course, that's Raziel, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's really powerful too. And then you kind of mentioned this too about how there's like infinite Raziels, there's like in the different infinite dimensions and the infinite universes that he's multiphasic. So he
Hmm.
is and he's also in constant contact with all the other Raphaels. Like they're not the same. It's not like a clone. They're all different, but they're all like slightly different was like my understanding. But they're all Raziel and they're all like functioning in like different dimensions and different universes and they're all
Hmm.
aware of each other. So,
Hmm.
so is there one? Do you think there's like one main Raziel, and then like the other dimensions, or are they all like on equal footing?
The way I think about it is particularly let's connect this to the concept of past lives. If we've had multiple past lives, who's the main who's the real Kyle? Who's the
Yeah.
core Kyle? Is it the one in this life? Is it the
Mhm.
one in that life? Or is it the sum total? I think when we think about and when you think about it, we are kind of humanizing it. I mean, we have this
Yeah.
very human vision, of ourselves, but the angels are all like like how Bradley talks about the angels are all like, individual, like sort of rays, if you will, of the divine. This it's they're individual expressions of the divine, but ultimately there's only a oneness, right? So the Raziel, that is the Raziel energy that is connected to each individual different timeline, but the one Raziel is the sum total of all of those.
I like that.
Which brings you back to this concept, that mind-blowing concept that there's no such thing as multiple. Time is just one.
Hmm.
There's just oneness,
It all
which,
kind of goes together.
because we live in such a time. specific time where we experience time as linear.
Yeah.
Although I don't know about you, but time is starting to get pretty weird for me. And it's not just because I'm like, mostly retired and I get up and I'm like, what day is it? Oh, right, wait. Oh, it's Sunday. Because, it's not like I'll wake up tomorrow and it's not like, okay, I got to go to work. So it's Monday, right? Because I'm retired. Um, so although I do have something that happens on Monday mornings, a coaching group that meets, oh, yep, Monday morning coaching group. So I know today is Monday, right? And if our coach is on vacation, I'm like, oh, did we have Monday this week? But time is starting to get kind of weird. I have had this experience. One day I was just taking some stuff out to the compost bin, walk out the door, walk across the yard to the compost bin, and I had this moment where I'm like, I felt like I had like, as I was walking, like something had shifted. Like I walked through. I mean, it wasn't as cosmic as like a portal, but it just felt there was like kind of thing of like, what is that? I almost likened it to like when I'm hiking on a trail and I walk through a spider web and I didn't realize it was there, but it wasn't like that annoying. It was just this weird feeling, or like when I come around a corner and suddenly I'm standing in sunlight. It was just this weird feeling like, did I just like walk like basically literally as I'm walking from the door to the outside to the compost bin, did I just walk through and like jump on another timeline? I'm standing there going, I don't know what this is, but let me just put this in the compost bin and figure it out later. Talk about the mystery, right?
Yeah.
No? Yeah. So I
I
think
know.
that concept of the oneness, you know, um, it's like that capacity. It's like who we are now. You're the
Mhm.
sum total of all of the Kyles that you have been up to this point, and some would say also all of the versions of yourself that you're going to grow into and
Mhm.
evolve and become. Because we're constantly evolving and changing. The only thing constant in the universe is change, right? So
Mhm.
I think that all of those Raziels are just an expression of like a core energy.
I love that explanation. So yeah, I think that's all I have like for the fun, like the Raziel fun facts. Oh, I did find one too. When I was doing Raphael, we determined like how you can use like the Hertz to like just like a Hertz to
Hmm.
like a
The
frequency.
Solfeggio, yeah.
Yeah, so I found for Raziel, I found two of them, 852 HZ, and that's all about awakening your intuition. And it's like apparently used to stimulate Raziel's ability to help you pierce through like blockages or like person to like to access your personal truth or anything that's like subconsciously like blocking you. And then I got 963, which is the divine frequency, and it's the crown chakra, which is helps you like experience mystical visions, download cosmetic data, or access the Akashic records.
Mm, mm,
So I
mm.
wonder when I
Yeah,
do my Michael video, if I'm gonna when I try to find his hertz, if 963 is gonna be on there. Maybe.
yeah, that's interesting. And it is really when you talk about tuning in on a vibrational level, it's like and basically for people not familiar with the sort of the solfeggio concept of Hertz frequencies, it's basically like if you hear like a tone like that's at a certain hertz is going to be a lower tone like it's these all of these different frequencies. And there are actually, I mean, you can look it up on any live stream, any music source or where and look for people who have created like just tones that you can listen to. At these different frequencies, you can
Mhm.
look that up and like, and it's interesting because some people like, oh, some people don't really like the really high pitched tones or whatever. Um, but and there are certain tones that are more harmonic. But I think that that's really fascinating. It's kind of like tuning your radio. That's how a radio works. And people are like, what's a radio? People don't even have them in their cars anymore, right? But I eventually went into electronic media and television, film and television journalism. But I also did a stint working at the campus radio station too. Our radio station was at a certain frequency. If you wanted to tune in and listen to our radio station, you had to tune your dial to that frequency. You think about it, the angel frequencies are like that. If I tune into this frequency, I've got the Archangel Michael frequency or the Raziel frequency. And I always forget about that, but I do love that concept. I think that can help. That's how people use tuning forks too, because the tuning
Yeah.
forks are different frequencies, or like
Yeah.
sound, sound bowls. That's why those frequencies do kind of connect us with like particular angelic realm energy. Yeah, I love that idea.
And they're like great for like you could probably put one on and even like meditate too and try to
Hmm.
connect. I had something I was going to say about the frequencies and oh, it's almost like how I always describe when I'm getting messages from spirit is like I feel like I'm trying to tune in, or even especially when I'm doing like mediumship and I'm trying because I
Hmm.
hear in my right ear and sometimes it's like clear, sometimes it's not. So it's like really like trying to tune in and really like fine tune what I'm the messages I'm getting so I can deliver them for the highest good of my clients. So
Yeah, absolutely.
so I talked about in each video like different crystals that you can use to connect with the art with different Archies. And like I said in my other videos, celestite, clear quartz, and what's the other one? Angelite are three
Angela.
crystals you can use to connect with any angel. They're going to help you. But Raziel actually has some that are specially like just for him because they're so they can help in like with the intuition, they can help with like the past life energy, they can help with like balance and exploration. So we have ametrine, which is the combination of citrine and amethyst. Of course, I don't have one to show, but that's really great for like psychic clarity and balance. And then clear quartz, which I already said, but like this is a good one for Raziel. Amplifies like the spiritual energy. It enhances clarity, helping to unblock the mysteries that Raziel holds. And clear quartz also amplifies enhances and amplifies the energy of other crystals.
And
Fluorite.
the thing about clear quartzes too, but I was thinking fluorite, but just to stay on clear quartz for a minute, I have like a little sun catcher, and there's
Mhm.
a clear quartz in it. When the sunlight hits it just right, it casts rainbows all around my room. So when you think
Ooh.
about that, when light shines through clear quartz, you get a rainbow, and that's very Raziel, very
Yeah.
Raziel.
You
Hmm.
know that no, it makes it's kind of odd that like Angel Light didn't pop up or Aura Quartz because I have or not Angel Light, I meant like I have one of these. You would think this would be
Hmm.
associated with Raziel, but it's not one that it popped up. But I mean,
Hmm.
but it's so rainbowy, it's so prismy, and it's Angel Aura.
Hmm. Hmm.
I don't know why it wouldn't. Maybe you could. I mean, I'm assuming you can use it. I'm just saying like it's not one of the ones like in my research that popped up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and then fluorite, I have this beautiful rainbow
Yeah.
angel fluorite. I love it so much. And then, so fluorite's great with like mental clarity, intuition, spiritual awareness, resonating with Raziel's energy, especially rainbow fluorite. I mean, there's lots of different, like green fluorite, purple fluorite, but this is a beautiful rainbow fluorite. Rainbow
It's
fluorite's
pretty.
my favorite. Thank you. I got it at the Gem and Mineral Show. I
Hmm.
love going to that. And then I have iolite, which is it's a blue color, but I love iolite. So iolite's great for past life, inner vision, and it kind of strengthens like your sight and helps with like you understanding like the karmic lessons that you learned. And then the crystal that I have been obsessed with lately, I don't know why. All of a sudden I go through different phases. Like I was first it was smoky quartz for a while. Well, first it was amethyst.
Hmm.
Then it was like something else. I was going through a smoky quartz phase. I am in a labradorite phase right now. Labradorite is my
Love that.
jam right now. So this is a
Hmm.
really nice one that I got from the Mindful Souls box. And
Hmm.
labradorite is great because it enhances your psychic abilities and intuition, reflecting on Raziel's connection to the divine knowledge and hidden truths. It helps access unseen realms. It opens doorways to unseen realms and helps clarify spiritual perception and maintain grounding too. So
Hmm.
that's what I have for those. And then we kind of talked about a little bit about how we both work with, I mean, you said you do work with Raziel for, dream work and art and past lives. Is there anything else you work with him for?
I mean, one of the things for me, I mean, you know how people get so excited when you see a rainbow?
Mm-hmm.
There's just this awesome thing of like seeing a rainbow. One of the most awesome experiences I ever had, if you ever have a chance, was I mean, I've traveled, grown up traveling a lot and flying a lot, and even now in my adult life, I still do. Seeing a rainbow when you're in the air, a
Oh.
rainbow is a circle. It's not an arc like we see it. When
Oh.
you see a rainbow up, like when the light is coming through, you actually see a circle. It's a circle. The
That's
reason
cool.
we see it as an arch is because the horizon of the earth cuts, it's like wherever. And the thing is, you're not going to get a rainbow at noon because the sun has to be at a certain angle. The rainbow is formed when the light gets when there's enough water. This is why it comes after a storm.
Hmm.
There's a lot of humidity, there's a lot of water in the air. And all of that, all of those little particles of water, the sunlight is being fractured. Like this can happen just like with a crystal or like a piece of glass. Like have you ever had, like, I've had this experience where I've been camping and I have this like glass that's sitting there, it's a clear glass, or it's a clear bottle, and it's sitting there and the sunlight shines through the water and
Hmm.
it creates a little rainbow there. So the rainbows are, that's the sun has to be at a certain angle, relative to the person observing it, right? But the reason we get a lot of rainbows after the storms is because there's all this water in the air that's causing it, acts as a prism. The light is shining through all the water and fracturing it and creating that rainbow. But it's actually from the air. It's actually seen as a circle, which is amazing. I was like, that is so awe-inspiring.
That is really
But to
cool.
me, you know, um, one of the things for me, and maybe this is just a personal thing because Raziel was there, as I'm sitting in church. And, one of the reasons why I was sitting in church during like the whole service is because I got kicked out of Sunday school for asking too many questions.
Oh,
And
oh.
so and my parents knew she's not, and it wasn't like technically kicked out of school, but Sunday school. But the way our church worked was, we all started out the church service, and then before the big sermon, they would do like a little children's thing, and then off all the younger ones of us went to Sunday school because we're not going to sit still during church, right?
Mhm.
So off we went to Sunday school, and then when the church service was done, our parents would come and get us, right? And my dad used to say it was just an excuse for the pastor to go on and on and on and on because have a lot of little squirming kids in the church.
Mhm.
But so my parents knew I wasn't going to stop asking questions. So my mother and father said, "You're going to have to stay in church with us. But you have to be really good and really quiet." And so being able to sit still and to be quiet, I would look at those colors in that beautiful stained glass window and just be mesmerized. And I felt like there's kind of this sense of like you get kicked out of Sunday school, you're asking these questions. So I'm like, but that's not how God is. And that's not what Jesus is like. How do you, as like 8 years old or 9 years old, convince your Sunday school teacher? No, like I know Jesus because Jesus comes to me in my dreams and talks to me in my dreams, kind of thing. It's like, my parents are like, we either should get her checked out by a psychiatrist or we're just going to keep her in church, So there is this sense of comfort for me. Rosé, when I see a rainbow or I see rainbow colors, there's a sense of that sort of comforting of like you can be who you are. Yeah,
Mhm.
it's okay. And that's just sort of my personal connection. But I love the fact that for the LGBTQ community, we have adopted the symbol of the rainbow as like all are welcome. All
Mhm.
of these different expressions, you can shine your light in whatever color you show up with, in whatever, gender or non-gender, in whatever persona you want to come. It's this concept of the beauty that's created out of all of these beautiful diverse expressions of Raziel. And so Raziel is constantly reminding me about the import, if you will, the essential component of diversity and embracing diversity, and the promise of after the storm, there's always the rainbow. So even when I'm struggling with something, that rainbow, and sometimes I'll just see a rainbow not in the sky because there's been a storm, but someone has, I mean, now you see rainbows more often. Someone is flying a rainbow flag outside of their house. Or, I'm going, and the car in front of me has a rainbow sticker on the back of their, I'll say, I'm that's like, yep, that's rainbow. That's Raziel's message to me. Stop worrying. It's going to be
Mhm.
okay. Surrender. It's okay. Stop worrying. It's like, you know, the only thing we can control is our response to the things that happen. but that is such a gift that we can control our response to the things that happen. So it's like if you're someplace and you suddenly hear a loud noise, it is human nature to be startled by a loud noise. Is there danger? But then we can say, okay, you could walk out your front door and hear that go, okay, that's a sign I should just stay in my house and not leave. Or you could go, okay, no more loud noises. Okay, check in with team. Okay, let's go. We'll be fine. So we can control our reaction and not be like hyper. And to me, the way that I work with Raziel is that sense of finding the rainbow is the promise. It's the good things to come. And Lord knows, we have on our list of things like what is the message for humanity, during these times?
Hmm.
Believe in the brighter, better future. I know it doesn't feel like it's out there, but it's coming.
I
We
believe that
lived in
too.
Southeast Asia for many, many years when I was growing up and went through some pretty intense typhoons. That hemisphere or the Pacific Ocean generates typhoons as opposed to hurricanes that we get, more in the United States, particularly on the East Coast. Um, and we were through some pretty intense typhoons and a couple big earthquakes. And those are pretty like, big experiences in terms of like
Yeah.
earth things, right? And it's this understanding, of like it seems like when all heck is breaking loose and trees are falling and and the water, the like I remember this one where our backyard was flooding and we had these sliding doors and it like you could see the water was not it was kind of seeping through a little bit in the bottom, but it was like watching the water rise a little bit, not feet, but like just our backyard sort of flooded. And like I'm looking at if I were to open up the sliding, like a couple feet of water, couple inches of water would have come flooding in. Just seeing that's a weird experience to see that, and think, gosh, but we're like, well, we have a two-story, we're not going to drown, we'll be fine. It you it's that reminder that after the chaos, and sometimes chaos is necessary because change is, chaos is the result of, I mean, that's how, when you study, like my younger daughter is a geologist, and she gave me this, I was like asking her all these questions. Here, mom, watch this like YouTube video or this thing. It's like to
Mm.
explain about geologic time or how the earth was formed or all these things. And there's been so that like the way in which our planet was formed geologically is quite violent,
Yeah.
and there was utter chaos, right? And of course there was no like life, organic life at the time because it couldn't have survived it. But then, all of those changes, to me, that rainbow is that reminder that, you know, to have faith, to believe in that beautiful possibility. And even though outside in the world things seem very chaotic, then when the more chaotic the things become in the outside world, that message is then you need to have the stillness within. You
Mm.
need to find the faith within. You need to find that place within you where the rainbow exists, where it's the quiet after the storm. They sometimes talk about the calm before the storm. The other thing that's interesting about typhoons and hurricanes, there's the eye of the storm. In the center of the storm, in the eye, it is perfectly quiet. There
Hmm.
are no high winds. And if you happen to be someplace where the hurricane passes over or typhoon, and this happened once in the Philippines when we lived there, where the typhoon passed directly over, the sun came out, the wind stopped. We went and stood outside. The skies were blue, and then the other wall came through.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So right, but in the center of the storm is the eye of the storm. So it's that reminder, that message to humanity that there will be the promise of what is to come, and to not get caught up in the chaos of the change that is happening, because there's been so much resistance to this change and there have been so many systems that are in place that are very oppressive, and for
Mm.
whatever reason humanity we as a collective decided, rather than like dealing with one system at a time, we're just going to deal with everything all at once, right? So I think that message from Raziel of the rainbow is like, remember that after the storm, there is a rainbow.
And like so I rainbows bring me joy. I just find them so joyful.
Hmm.
They're so beautiful. They bring me joy. They remind me of the chakras. I love the colors. They just make me really happy. So like another thing like that I do when I work with Raziel, and I don't know if this is just how it kind of something that I ask of him whenever I go to a fair or I go read at a shop. I ask him to, or I thank him, I should say. I say thank you for making me, since he is the mentor, he is
Hmm.
the hermit, he's the mentor. I say thank you for making me a beacon of light for those that can benefit from my services. If somebody is a if another reader is a better fit for somebody, then I want them to get their what they need out of a reading. But if I'm like the best fit for them, then thank you for making me a light for them to find me. So I always like to ask him to help me do that because like I want to be able to help the people I can help, you know. So
Hmm.
uh
And
thank you
and so
for the car.
interesting that Raziel, in addition to the magician card in Radley's Angel Wisdom Tarot deck, and in a number of decks, he is also the Hermit.
Hmm.
And the Hermit is the the energy of that guide that is standing at the top of the mountain, holding the lantern, holding the light, saying, "This is the way. This is the
This is
way.
my
Come this way."
This is probably my favorite hermit card. I think out
Hmm.
of all.
I
I think
love that one.
Bradley's
Yeah.
because it's just he's so it's and that's where I got the idea of making me a beacon of light because it's like he's lighting the way um and helping others and like I just love this version of him and I love like the
Hmm.
prism and how the light's giving off a prism and so
Hmm.
yeah,
Hmm.
I love
Yeah.
working
I
with him
think that
like
all
that
ties
and
together.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I love that you got your messages like to ha keep the faith because I got for when I did my Raphael video, the message that I got when I was pulling cards was the wheel and that things are going to
Mm.
start shifting in a better direction because what's at top of the wheel, especially in Radley's deck, the star.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
comes after the storm? That like we're going through a tower card moment right now. What comes after the
Hmm.
tower? The star.
Hmm. Hmm.
So
Yep.
I
Yep.
feel like like things are I really strongly believe in the golden future that I
Hmm.
know like Diana Cooper has talked about it and other people have talked about like there's different names. I really truly believe that we are headed in that direction. It's just we have a lot we have to clean up. We have to clean up all this stuff so like we don't what doesn't happen till like Atlantis happens again where we don't fall, you know.
Hmm. Right. Right.
We have to
Right. Right.
heal.
Right.
There's so many
Right.
things we have to heal before we can fully get to like a time up to really be into the age of Aquarius.
And making sure that that golden future exists equally for all. That
Yes.
it's not just the golden age for a few, or the
Yes.
privileged or
Yes.
whatever, that it's the
Yes.
golden age with this equitable, and it's interesting the difference between, so let's talk about, equal is the difference between equal and equitable, right? So equal is I cook, you cook, I clean, you clean, right? Equitable is I cook, you clean up, I do the laundry, you take out the trash. Equitable is like not the same for everybody, but
Hmm.
equal access to the accessible to like the basic resources and the basic needs and everything else, right? So, and having something that is equitable, that is accessible, to all, that, there's more than enough resources to go around on this planet. No one needs to be like hoarding anything, right? Yeah, absolutely.
And then I pulled a card. I was like, Raziel, what's your message right now? Because Deborah had a great message from you. So what is the message? And of course, I got the tower card. So it's just it's hang tight.
Transformation.
We have to. We have to go through this. We have to go through it's like we have to change things. Things have to change. And I almost feel like it has something to do with like timelines too. Maybe we need to get on a different timeline or they, because like I'm really hyper focused on the clock here. But like I feel like what we've been doing is just repairing the roof or like putting patches on things and the
Hmm.
patches are not holding anymore.
Hmm.
You
Hmm.
know, like I know this is going really off topic, but I was talking with somebody about how like or no, I took an ancestral healing class and she talked about how like we never healed like after like during the civil rights movement and like there's still so much like racism and prejudice. We never healed that. We just put a band-aid on it. It
Hmm.
needs to be healed. That's why we have to heal it. It has to be healed in
Hmm.
order for us to go into this future where everybody is equal. We have to
hmm
heal that. So I was like that she
hmm
put the nail like right on the head there. So I kind of feel
hmm
like he's just saying like and then telling people this is the reason why this is happening because we've just been putting patches on things. We've just been patching the holes, but we have to rebuild. And the
hmm
rebuild is coming.
hmm
So
hmm
have
And
hope
maybe
and
the
faith.
rebuild looks less like a tower and more like a village.
Yeah.
Because the tower is like, this up here, and it's like, how people talk about the ivory tower and things like being up here, and it's kind of like that,
Hmm.
this sort of, concept, as opposed to, having shelter that's, for everybody, where everyone, everybody has this, the access to have the same view, if you will, yeah,
Yeah. That's what
I
I
love
really love
that.
about that when like the Diana Cooper book where she talks about like I know we're getting off topic, but like how it's like you don't have to everything is energy like the way energy works or the way like electricity works so that people don't have to pay for it anymore.
Hmm
It's like it runs where it's like so people, and everybody has a home.
hmm
Kids are like
hmm
catered to and cherished and it's just yeah, it just sounds lovely.
hmm
So, and I think that he's trying to tell people that that's coming, but we have to go through this dark night of the soul first to clear
hmm
out everything that needs to be clear out to
hmm
heal the wounds and to almost
And to that brighter future, a lot of it is I tell people, pay attention. I just had this conversation with my son-in-law. It's a very dark view of the future. And I'm like, dude, you got to change the algorithms in your social media. I
yeah,
don't follow a lot. I don't, this is a big deal for
I changed mine.
for a former journalist to like say, I don't follow the news. I have an agreement with my angels. If there's something I need to know about, let me know. I follow local news, things like that or whatever. You
That's a
know,
good
um,
idea.
and also more, reliable news sources, different types of news sources. But the idea of like training the algorithms. So there are so many positive things that are happening. There is a scientist in Japan who has created a plastic-like substance that is organically derived and compostable and can actually, when it breaks down, re-nourish the soil, like replenish the soil, as opposed to being toxic. Or if it ends up in the ocean, there's also I don't know if it's the same scientist, but I've also heard of another plastic-like substance that has been created that, one of the issues of microplastics breaking down in the ocean is animals in the ocean see it, and it looks like plankton, and so they're eating it. And there's no nutrition in it, and that's very bad for them.
Yeah,
Um, Creating these substances that when it goes into the ocean, it breaks down into nutrients
that's cool.
no one people have not heard about this, like this is not being told that this kind of progress, these hopeful things. There's a really great book that just came out. I just got it. I haven't read it, but I had heard about it, called What If We Get It Right. It's a book about climate change and
Mhm.
what if we can do this. There are countries, so Australia, the country slash continent of Australia, set a goal to be plastic free. I think I can't remember if it was by 2025 or a certain point, but they are getting pretty close to that goal.
That's awesome.
So and this is mostly in terms of reusable plastics.
Hmm.
So when you go to Australia, if you get takeout, it's nothing. There are no plastic utensils. There are no plastic containers. That when you buy things in the grocery store, there's no more plastic packaging. And their goal is to get rid of this, unrenewable plastic energy. Now, there will be still things that are made from plastic, but those are things that are more sort of long-term use. You know. But like I think, like in terms of like, plastic chairs or things like that, they've gotten away from, that kind of thing. So it can be done. It can
Yeah.
be done. And it is being done. And it's just a matter of, look for that hope, look for that good news feed of like the things that are happening. There are a couple of species, there are a couple of bird species that have been rescued. There are a couple of animal species. There's one, I can't remember which one it was, a certain rare fox breed that hasn't been seen in a certain part of Asia for almost 100 years. And they've discovered a small community of these foxes in this
Aw.
one national forest. And so they have great hope that the species is going to be able to sustain itself because there's enough, you need enough genetic diversity.
Hmm.
So there's not so much inbreeding.
Yeah.
There's lots of really positive things, and I think again that's the rainbow,
Yeah.
and it's that vision of, what is the agenda of the information that's being put out there that wants to tell us it's hopeless. Because one of the things I said to my son-in-law was, I said, they've got you. And he goes, what do you mean? I said, they've got you believing that it's hopeless, so why even try? And he says, well, I
Yeah.
just do what I can in my local community and with my own business. And I said, well, that's where the energy is. You do what you can.
Yeah.
Don't feed into that despair of like, these problems are so global. What can I do? Just do the little things that you can do, you know, um, do something to help in your local community, whatever that is. Whenever I go camping someplace, I always leave every campsite in better shape than when I got there.
That's the Cub Scout motto. That's what my
Mhm.
kids are Cub Scouts. You leave it nicer than when you came. And
Yep.
Kyle
Yep.
Gray always says, like, you do what you can in your corner of the world.
Hmm.
Whatever, do the little things you can in your corner of the world because it's a snowball effect.
Hmm.
It raises
Hmm.
your vibration, but it's also a snowball effect where you do something nice for somebody and then they'll do something nice for somebody else. And like it snowballs and it becomes like to eventually where it's like a big ball, like rolling
Hmm.
down the hill.
Hmm.
So
Yep. 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 Passing it forward, any of those things. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
That all feels like in many ways rainbow energy.
Yeah. Yeah, it really
Because it's
does.
that promise of the bright, the brighter future is us making the choice to create it
Yeah.
in whatever way we can. Yeah, I love that.
And I asked,
This
well,
has
I
been
asked,
so fun.
I'm so
This has
glad.
been wonderful.
Thank you for joining me on this. I just have one more thing, and then I'm gonna have you tell everybody where they can find you. So I asked them like anything else you want me to know, because like about like like anything else you want humanity to know, especially since like you kind of confirmed that we're going through like the dark night of the soul and that we have to rebuild. Like what about afterwards? And I love this. I got the world, but what's at top of the
Yay.
world? The infinity sign.
There you go. There you
Hmm.
go.
So
Hmm.
it's like just so hang in there, hang in there. And I know Jophiel is like the Archangel of Joy, but I get a lot of joy from Raziel too. I
Sure.
find
I
I
mean,
find him very joyful.
I think about that quote from Winnie the Pooh where they have to go they're trying to figure out what to give Eeyore for his birthday, and they want to give him because Eeyore is the one that's going to sad all the time, whatever. And they decide they want to get him a balloon, and they say, how can you be uncheered by a balloon? How can you be uncheered by a rainbow?
Yeah.
It's so yeah. I love that. I love that.
And I'm really glad I pulled that card. And I think that the infinity sign is confirmation. I love like the so I just feel like he's just trying to tell everybody to hang tight. Just please hang tight. It is gonna be okay.
Hmm.
There's a lot of people that are going through spiritual enlightenments right now too, which
Hmm.
is
Hmm.
cool.
And the other thing is that message of chasing joy, of finding joy, almost as if like, I don't know, like, should I, go out and have fun, when genocide is happening and this is happening and that's happening and my way of looking at it is I am blessed. I'm not living in a war zone.
Yeah.
No, for those people who are hearing the news reports that Portland is a war-torn city, it is not. We are fine. Um, so I don't live in a war zone. So whatever we experience, we amplify in the world. We can amplify. So if I allow myself to have a moment of joy, sometimes the moment of joy is I'm walking, like there's a little trail nearby here that I love to walk, and it's all like wooded and forest. It's kind of magical
Hmm.
even in this dry part of summer, there's like lots of moss and it's very green and it's kind of very fairy-like. And I love walking through there. And the other day I was going through there and I heard a bird that I didn't recognize. I'm like, what? And I stopped and I just listened to it, and I had left my phone, so I didn't have I have a little app on my phone that identifies bird calls. So, I'm
Oh,
like, huh.
cute.
And then I don't know if I will ever hear it again, but I was just like, I just stopped and it was just such a moment. It was like such a pretty song. And there was a part of my brain that's like, you left your phone back there. You don't know what this bird is. You'll probably never hear it again. I'm like, shh, I just want to listen to the bird, okay? It was this wonderful moment of joy. These little moments of joy to just stop and take it in and not like run 10 blocks back and get my phone and come back and hope I can hear the bird. Someday maybe I will. But just to take in those moments of joy
Hmm.
and really just experience it to allow. And that had been a particularly challenging day. There were a couple of things that had happened earlier in the day that were very challenging, and I was like, I just need to get out and just walk. And it was funny because it was normally I walk a little bit later in the day, and I said, I know it's a little bit warm out, but I just need to get out now. And I don't know if I had waited till later, like when I usually walk. I'm like, I'm just going to take some extra time. I'm just going to quit what I'm working on early and go out and go for this walk. And if I had chosen another time, I might not have heard that bird.
Yeah.
So it's almost like listening to that call and go out and capture those little moments of joy. I think is a really wonderful thing to do. One of our mutual cosmic adventurers and friends, Coventina, she has this concept of, she calls it the joy jar. What
Ooh.
she does is she takes this jar, she decorates it, like she blings this, take a mason jar or anything, but you can just use it contain, anything that you have at home, even if you have a pretty jar already. But she decorates hers, puts ribbons on it, glues little like, crystals or like little, jewel things on it, and it's her joy jar. And what she does is she writes down various things on little slips of paper and of things that bring her joy, joyful memories, joyful moments. I think she might even during I'm trying to think if I don't know if she like keeps track of them like during the year and then puts them in the jar for the following year, whatever. But anyways, her joy jar. Whenever she's having a really down moment, she just reaches into that jar and pulls it out and reads a little joy slip, and it could be a memory, or it could be just thinking, it could be the name of a friend or whatever, her favorite color for her favorite. So it's just these little moments of joy that even if she can't go out and experience it in the moment, it's there in the
Yeah.
jar and it's the reminder of the things to be joyful for. I love that idea.
Yeah, that's a really great idea.
Mhm.
So that's all that I had. So thank you for,
I
yeah.
think we have covered in true Raziel form. I think we have gone backwards through time and forwards through time and talked about
Yeah.
these things, and it's like, but bringing it all together because it is, I think the thing is, it's almost like I can almost see Raziel just sort of sitting here with his like feathered quill of like, well, I got to leave some mystery for people to explore. It is the invitation for, the invitation that, to continue that adventure of exploring into the unknown. That,
Yeah.
let there be some mystery in the unknown. What are the mysteries of your own self? Yeah, I love that idea.
So where can people find you?
So for people that are interested, you can, if you go to Deborah Rahalski, it's DeborahRahalski. It's just my name, .com. That will take you to my website. And you can read all about me and find everything about me. One of the special things I do, though, for any time I do a collaboration with anybody or connect with anybody, is you can book a reading on that site. But I always give people who connect through something, through like a podcast like this or a collaborative thing that I've done. I always love to give people a special discount.
Oh,
So
sweet.
you can email me at hello at deborahrahalski.com. That's the email for that website. And if you email hello at deborahrahalski.com and say, "Hey, I saw you on Kyle's podcast. I'd love to book a reading." I will respond to your email and send you a special coupon code that if you want to book a cosmic chart reading, for your astrological chart, you could get a really good discount on that. So
I will
you
put
can
that in
go
the
to the
show notes.
website and find out about me, and then if you're interested in booking a reading after that, use that hello, email me at hello@deborahrahalski.com and get your discount.
Awesome. I'll put that in the show notes. There'll be everyone in
Hmm.
the show notes for you to find. I'll
Sure.
put her email address and
Thank
just,
you.
and I'll even put like, tell her you found, through Kyle, through Kyle's Raziel video. That's awesome. And I've actually had my chart done with Deborah. It's really cool. It's a cool experience. So we've done my solar
Thank you.
return, right? Is that what we did?
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, we did
Yep.
something like
Yep.
and looked at my 6 months or something. So
Hmm. Hmm.
it was
Yep.
cool.
Yeah. One of the things I do for people the first time they connect with me, obviously, it's my first time connecting with their chart. So, I'll talk a little bit about what I'm seeing in that natal chart, and then also a bit about the current current energies. And then for returning clients, people can come back. Some people do it once a year, some people do it solar return, which is when your birthday is a great time to sort of take what to me, your solar return, your birthday is like a personal new year, wherever it falls in the year. Or and so some people be or sometimes people have a specific question. I have a friend who's thinking about, making a change in the work that they're doing and what is the timing of some of that. So sometimes they'll have a specific question. So returning customers, when they do follow-up readings, that is not that is also done at a discount for returning customers as well.
Nice. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, 'cause you've given that to me too. So I thought I was just special, but I love that.
Well, you are special.
Yeah. So thank you for joining me. This has been great. And
Thank you
thank
for having
everybody.
me.
Yeah, of course. And you're coming back for Shamuel, right? Me, you, and Sean, I think.
Um, no, Sandalphon. I think
Oh,
it
Sandalphon.
Sandalphon?
Yes,
It
Sandalphon.
was
Me, you.
Sandalphon. Oh,
Yes.
I have a great, I can't wait to
Please.
talk about how I met Sandalphon. That was a
That'll be
really great
fun. It'll be me, you, and
experience. Yeah,
Sean on
that's fun.
that. So that'll be really fun.
Awesome. Oh, love Sean.
So,
That'll be
yeah,
fun.
me too. So yeah,
We'll have to we'll have to really pay attention to our
I know.
notes and stay focused.
I
We
know.
should
We
get the
were.
three of us together and we're off in some other dimension, like
I
herding
know.
cats.
It's like trying to get out the phone. I'm like, okay, I gotta go. I really gotta go. But one more thing. One more thing. Like,
Yes, 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 yes. Love it. Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I
yeah.
absolutely enjoyed it. It was great.
This was really fun. Everyone, thank you for watching. And yeah, we'll check out the other ones. I already have a few other ones and there's more to come. I'm doing 15 of these babies. So
Yeah, I can't wait to see the whole series. It's going to be fun.
I'm excited. I've been like clipping them or not clipping them, but like when I upload them into YouTube, I've been like adding them to a folder or to a playlist so
Mhm.
that should pop up for people. That's like the I made it public.
Awesome.
So
That's great.
all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna stop the recording. So thank you everybody and we'll
Bye,
catch you
everyone.
later. Bye.